So today we're going to do a demo of hot compress massage, and this is what the compresses look like. This is your body compress and this is for smaller areas like the face, and we use different moves such as patting, pounding, pummeling, pressing, pressures. It's literally all the P's, and as we demonstrate on each area I'm going to show you how each of these moves go. This massage is very stimulating. It's using a wide selection of herbs and essential oils. So don't do this treatment on someone that might be on a lot of medication. Pregnancy's out because of the heat as well as the different herbs that are involved. So make sure that you do a full consultation, and because it's very stimulating, it's best not to do it too late at night, because rather than relaxing the client, the effects might actually revitalise and invigorate and make it difficult to sleep. So when you're doing a hot compress massage, you'll have two compresses, and what you do is you steam both about 15 minutes before the treatment so they're both warm, but you work with one at a time. So when you're working with one, the other one is still steaming and keeping warm, and then when you've finished one leg or the compress has become very cool, you'll swap over so that you're then reheating the cooler one and working with the warmer one. Now the different moves that you do, you start with patting, which is introducing the heat to the skin. Because the compress is going to be very warm, you can imagine that you can't hold it for a long period of time on the skin or it's going to be too warm. So patting is just an introductory move. Then you have pounding, which is like a kneading movement. And what you do is you pound over the areas that you're working on. And again, it's a deep pressure, but it's a quick pressure because there's still intense heat in that compress. Then we have pummeling, which is almost like circular kneading, and that's a deep movement where you're working in circles over the area. And what you're doing is you're loosening tension, you're warming up the skin, but all these herbs and the oils within the compress are starting to absorb into the circulatory system, and they're going to have an effect on the body. We also have pressing, which is where you're holding an area firm and you're pressing, and you can also twist on the area, and again this is helping to release tension and nodules. And then when you've finished an area, you'll apply your massage medium and you'll be draining to the nearest node. So it'll be alternate stroking with your hand and with the compress. Hot compress massage on the back of the leg. Check the area for any visual contraindications, and you've done your consultation with your client before you start. If you need to, you can pop a little ankle support just under the ankle of the client, but again that's up to the individual and if they require it. And then the first move that you're going to start with is your patting. So you take one of your compresses out. If it's too warm to hold by the handle, which it can sometimes be, then you can get just a little hand cloth and you can just wrap it round just for your own benefit. Just occasionally, if it's been steaming for quite a while, it can actually still be too warm for you to hold. So we start with patting, and again remember this is warm, so you're patting to introduce the heat to the skin and also to make sure that you're not spending too long on the area and making it too uncomfortable for the client. So you would pat all over the areas just to introduce everything to the skin, get the client nice and relaxed. You can also do more patting and just concentrate on the thigh area. You can start to do your pounding, and again just think how many tension and tightness will be in the quads, so you can spend quite a bit of time here, but again you don't want to overwork an area. You could then move on to your circular kneading or your pummeling, and again you would work nice and slowly over the area. I'm obviously speeding this up just for a demonstration, but you would take your time. And you can also do your rolling technique where you hold the compress and you gently roll over the area. And your pressure can be quite firm here, but again, it'll be in accordance with the tone and the muscle tone of your client. So don't make it too uncomfortable. And then you can swap it over and you can roll to the other side. And you can also do your pressures where you're holding the skin taut and you're pressing in just to release any tension. And if you need to, you can also do a slight twist just to make sure that you really get the effect. And it's actually quite an exfoliating treatment too, because of the cloth that's used to create the compresses. So you would take your time and work on that, and work just into the areas that you feel need a release. And then you can move on to the calf, and you can do the same movements on the calf. So again, you've done your patting already, so then you can start to do some pounding. And you're just working all over that area. Your circular kneading, also called your pummeling. And you'd work, take your time, maybe about 10 minutes per leg you would be aiming for. And again, you can do some rolling just over gastrocnemius. One side and then the other. And you can also do press and release if there's any tension. And then when you're quite happy that you've covered the full area, you can apply some oil, and then you're going to drain. So just pop some oil onto the area, just a light application. And same compress, and now we're going to do alternate stroking with the compress and your hand, and what you're doing is you're draining to the lymph node, and that's helping to remove toxins from the area. When you're finished, you can just move to the base of the foot and just push in the compress, and if you want to even do a press and rotate just to really get the heat in. It's nice and relaxing for the foot, and it's also helping to ease off any muscle tension. When you're finished, you pop this compress back into your steamer, swap over for your new warmer one, and you can work on the other leg. Hot compress massage for the back. First thing you do is check the area for any visual contraindications, and then you'll make sure that your client has their head and neck straight for this one. And you've steamed your large body compress, and again it's nice and warm, so you begin by patting on the area just to introduce the heat and the pressure to your client. So for these ones you're thinking about patting alongside the spine and over the neck and shoulder and down the outside, and then you would do the same on the other side. Back is normally about 20-25 minutes when you're doing a full body treatment. If it was just a standalone treatment, it would be about half an hour. So that's what your patting move would consist of. You can do your pounding, which would be again excellent over shoulder area, so scapula, trapezius, really nice just to get a lot of tension out of this area, and be prepared to see redness in the skin, erythema here. And again, once you've done that area and you start to see redness, depending on the routine that you follow, you may decide to work on the base of the back too. And again, it's just a deep pressure, but because it's a warm compress, you're not keeping it on the skin for too long in case your client can't tolerate the intense heat. So you would work over the full back area, but again, there are many different routines, so you just follow the one that you're comfortable with. You can also do your pummeling, your circular kneading, and again, some routines will start at the base of the back and work upwards, others will start at trapezius and scapula. So you're just taking your time working over the full area. If your client does comment that it's a bit too warm, then you can stand one of your compresses outside the steamer for a few moments just to let it cool down with the air. And then of course you've got the rolling, so you can roll from the base of the back upwards, or you might just choose to roll over one specific area and then another. and you would swap over, start to see some erythema here. And then you will also have press and stretch, which is ideal if anyone does carry a lot of tension, if they have nodules. So just hold the area and then press in, and a little twist can be ideal just for helping to loosen. And again, you could take your time and just work over any areas that you feel need it. And then you could go back to any original moves that you wanted. If you wanted to do some more circular kneading, you could. If you wanted to do more pounding. And then once you're quite happy that you've covered the full area and you've done what you need to do, we can apply our oil and we can drain. So just a tiny little bit of oil. Cover the area. And again, the oil that you pick will also enhance the benefits of the compress too, so make sure that they complement each other and that everything's working together to create the end result that you want to achieve. So we've applied our oil, and then we can just start to do alternate stroking, and we're working to the nodes. So here we're working to auxiliary. And then when you're finished, you just cover the back over and you're ready to continue with your treatment. Hot compress massage for the front of the leg. If you need to, you can pop a little support under the knee, or for some people they might feel they need it under the ankle, but again, just treat each client individually as they need it. So what we do is we take our compress out from the steamer, and again, it's too hot just to start working directly on the skin, so we want to start at the ankle and just begin our patting movement. And you can work all your way over the leg. You can swap hands if you need to. So we just cover the full area, and then once you've done that an adequate amount of times, you would get your client to bend their leg, and you can start doing your pounding movements. You can really work on any areas of tension. You can do your pummeling. You can spend a lot of time doing this. And remember, just think of this as circular kneading if you forget what the pummeling actually means. So you can spend quite a bit of time doing that. You can do any pressures that you need to, and then when you've finished, you can relax the leg, and you can do a bit more patting just if you want to relax the client and extend this to about 10 minutes per leg. And then what you can do is bend the leg again and repeat the same process on the calf, the gastrocnemius. So again, you can do your pounding, circular kneading, it's a bit awkward to do your stretching here, but if you feel there's any areas that need the stretching, you can do that. And then when you're finished, relax and spend a little bit of time if there's anywhere that you feel is particularly tight, especially if your client is maybe quite fit and they've got very tight muscles, maybe they do a lot of exercise, a lot of running. And then when you're finished, you can apply your oil and drain to the lymph nodes. And just make sure you've got an adequate coverage. And then, almost like alternate stroking, one hand is stroking up while the hand with the compress is draining to the nodes. And then when you're quite happy with that, you can swap your compresses for your nice warm one that's been steaming, and you can do the other leg. Stomach area is really good for hot compress if anyone gets stomach aches. It can help IBS, but again, you want to check the condition that someone suffers from. If they're on a lot of medication, then obviously check with their GP, because you don't want the ingredients in the compresses to affect their medicine. So with the stomach, just keep it nice and light Again, it's optional. A lot of clients prefer that you don't work on the stomach, but you can choose to use your body compress. But if they had a particularly narrow waist or a small stomach, you could actually use your smaller compresses. So the types of moves that you would do are just a little bit of gentle patting just on the waist area. Can maybe work up to the ribs. Just introducing the heat. And then when you're working on the stomach, you always work in the direction of the colon, which is up, along and down in a clockwise direction. So what you might choose to do is maybe some rolling, and you can roll almost in a diamond shape, just up to under the ribs and back again. And you would just start down below the stomach button for that. So you could do a little bit of rolling, you could do a little bit of pounding in that direction, but again, just keep it nice, very, very light. There's nothing worse than a lot of pressure on the stomach area, so it's a firm but light pressure. And you could even do some of your circular kneading, just working in that diamond shape. And again, if you felt that your larger compress was too awkward, then you can get your smaller compress and continue on. When you're finished, it's up to you if you choose to apply oil to the area and drain, but you don't have to. So it's really just a case of doing what you feel is adequate for that area and then moving on to the next stage. Hot compress for the arm. What you can do is you can start with the palm facing upwards and you've got your hot compress, and you can just start to do your patting, and you're just working on the inside over the shoulder and working to the outside. And again, you would do that to introduce the heat to the client and just prepare them for the further moves. Then you can get on to your pounding, and again, you're just following the same path. And if you need to, you can swap arms if it starts to get a bit awkward for you. And then you can also do your circular kneading. And again, you've always got the option, if you've heated up your body and your facial compresses, if you feel the body one is quite big for certain clients, then you can always swap and do the smaller compress. So you would work over the areas, again your usual 3 to 6 times, and then when you get down to the base and you've covered the inside of the arm, you can turn round and you can repeat on the outside of the arm so that you're benefiting the full area. And again, it's exactly the same. You would do your patting, you would do your pounding. Slow it right down for your treatment. This is just to show you how it's done. And then your circular kneading, and I'll show you with the smaller compress. You might feel that you've got more control over the area to do your pummeling or your circular kneading. And again, just take your time, work over the areas. And then when you're finished, you can apply your oil. And once you've applied the oil, you're going to drain to the nearest node. Just grab your compress. And it's just alternate stroking. So you've got your node in the bend of the elbow, your supratrochlear node, and then you've also got your node under the arm, your axillary. And then once you're finished, you can move on to the next arm. So to work on the shoulders and the neck, you can see that it would be quite awkward to work with your body compress. So this is when you use 2, and the smaller compresses are ideal for this area and the face. So again, you can start off on the sternum and you can do your patting movements just to introduce the heat, and you can work around the shoulders and you can work up the neck. And you can also do your pounding, and you can spend quite a bit of time in this area, and it's ideal to loosen a lot of tension. And it's really nice just to get into the back of the neck here and just spend a little bit of time just releasing any tension and tightness. And then you can also do some circular kneading here. And just spend a bit of time. And you would work all the way around, but ideally you can even roll up and down the neck just to get the best effect of the heat. It's an area where so many people carry tension. and then when you're finished you can just pat along and work your way up to the face, where you can spend a little bit of time on the face and the scalp. So to do some hot compress massage on the face, you would remove the client's makeup, but for the benefits of the demonstration today, we're just going to show you quickly how you would do it. This is one of the few times where you use 2 compresses at the same time, and you can see that the facial ones are smaller. If you did use the body one, you can see straight away that you won't have control and it's way too big for that area. So all you're really doing here is just gently patting over the areas. You're just wanting to introduce the heat, relax the client. You can pat all over the face. You can pat into the hairline. You can really take your time and slow it down. You can even pat into the ears and just introduce the heat there. And again, if you've already done the neck, there's still no harm in patting down and just getting real benefits and doing a little bit of rolling in this area. What you can also do with the face is spend a little bit of time, if someone's got congestion, you can actually roll your compress under the eyes if they suffer from puffy eyes, or if they get nasal congestion. You can just help to remove any sinus blockages by rolling your compress to the nearest node at the ears. So we can also gently roll over the forehead, and you can even do 2 at the same time if you want to. You could roll over the chin, and then you can also do some pressures if your client suffers from tension. If they have tension headaches, then some pressures over this area would be ideal, just to release tension. And then when you're finished, you can just very, very gently pat, and pat to the temples, and then just do a little pressure and then release. And then as usual, you would do full aftercare advice, full home care advice. Sit your client up, give them a nice glass of water, and just allow them just to come back, relax, and make sure they don't move too quickly, because it is quite stimulating and they could be a little lightheaded if they've been lying down for an hour.